World Series has kicked off. We have another week of the NFL and some college football. And Brett, we still have some more hockey and NBA, maybe even some UFC talk as well. This is episode 171 of The Next Best Bet. I'm Jake Higgins with Brett Levy as always. And if we take a look at last episode, Brett, I made 4 futures picks. One of those 4 is already gone because the Astros cannot go 4-0 since they lost game 1. They're in the middle of game 2 right now on Wednesday night as you and I record, though. I went 3-3 last weekend, or last episode. Didn't do too bad, didn't do great, just broke above 500, though, because one of those was a half-unit pick. How about you?
There you go, Higgins. Yeah, I guess you could say I did pretty well, going 2-0. I made, not as many wagers as you, Higgins, but undefeated. You like to see that. The Capitals came through versus the Senators. Although I gotta admit,
Nearly gave it up.
Higgins, yeah, gave me a little scare there, trailing 4-3 in the second period as well. But sometimes you just have a good read on something and you're like, you know what, Ottawa's just not good, right? Like they're just playing above their weight right now.
And then the Pelicans, they won outright for you, so your Levy lock hit. My pick of the pod lost. That means our honors are going to flip
Uh-oh.
here at the end of the episode. You got to stick around, though, to get our Levy locks and pick of the pods. Jumping into Beginners Boulevard, Brett, we're going to talk about what's known as a dead heat, and it's another way to say that there's a tie in a finishing position of a bet. And typically, you want to check with your sports book, and depending on the wager, you should know what a tie means for you. For some or most instances, it may mean a push and you get your stake back, but you won't get any winnings. But for some, though, it might actually be a loss. Like there are three-way money lines where it could be either team wins or a tie, and if you don't pick the tie, then obviously you would lose.
Yeah, no, definitely things to be aware of, and that's a good point, Higgins. Always know what you are betting because if you don't, you can find yourself in some trouble. Also, if the sports book isn't very clear about how the rules are going to work, maybe fight them on it a little bit. Fight for your money, baby.
Absolutely, fight for your money. That is right. Talking about fighting for your money, Brett, I posted some pics on my social media on Monday night to go along with the game 1 in the World Series. We're going to jump into some baseball now. And the over 8.5, it nearly hit. Gurriel's home run was about a foot away from it being able to clear the over of 8.5. Instead, it was an 8-run game that uh, an 8-run game was what it was. 8.5 was the over under. 8.5 is the over under again on Wednesday night, Brett, with a 5-2 game here in the bottom of the 5th. It's interesting because we've seen the bats come alive at least in these first 2 games, but it hasn't been just an outpouring of runs quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the big story for me from game 1 was probably Charlie Morton getting
Absolutely.
a few outs on a broken leg there. That's really impressive. I don't think I've ever seen that, let alone in a World Series game. So, shout out Charlie Morton. How about Jorge Soler? First person ever, Higgins, in 117 World Series to hit a home run as the first batter in a World Series. So that was kind of cool too. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun series. I think, I don't want to push the bull before the cart, but I think this one may go back to Atlanta, 1-1 Higgins, and your 7-game series bets might be in play there.
Now that Atlanta did steal one in Houston, those game sevens possibilities are much more in play now, so those bets are looking very good. Brett, you said that you feel like it might come in 1-1 going into Atlanta. I kind of agree, at least with the score, with Astros leading 5-2 here in the 5th inning on Wednesday night. But as we go on, what is it going to mean for the Braves to be without Charlie Morton in that lineup? You mentioned he had a few outs on that broken leg. The Braves bullpen did fantastic to close out that game, but they're not going to get that ace for another start later on in this series, and that could mess them up, I'm worried.
Yeah, I guess the good news for Atlanta is Houston is in trouble too. Houston pitched Urquidy tonight because or on Wednesday night, excuse me, because he's a fly ball pitcher, Higgins. And if the Astros want to have Yordan Alvarez in the lineup in Atlanta, he cannot DH. So it's expected he'll play in the outfield. And you probably don't want him running, chasing fly balls. So Luis Garcia will start game 3 for the Astros. But from the Braves' perspective, to answer your question, obviously this is what they paid Charlie Morton for, to be there in the postseason, to be that calming presence, that steady hand. He looked like he was locked in last night. Unfortunate circumstances, but the Braves have. It feels weird saying this. The Braves have the better pitching staff in this match, in this series, like regardless of situations. But there's going to be a lot of bullpen baseball in this series, especially in the NL ballparks. I don't know if you see a pitcher go more than 4 innings in the National League ballparks with the pitchers batting, runs are going to be needed. And, we've seen many a time in the postseason, Higgins, managers are quick to pull starters. Guy gets on, up, that's it, you're done.
Yeah, and when it goes back to game three, we don't have lines yet for game three, obviously, because I think it's going to be very impactful of whether it goes back 1-1 or whether the Braves come back 2-0, going back to Atlanta, which, like I've said a few times, that game's going on as you and I are recording. So we don't have lines for game three on Friday yet, but I'd be looking for Braves money line, the home team money line. Home teams have dominated in this MLB postseason. I think that's going to continue in this World Series still.
Yeah, definitely possible. Although I guess technically the Braves already won on the road, so there's the hole in your theory, Higgins.
Absolutely. There is a hole in that theory still. Let's jump into some college basketball, though, Brett. Or, sorry, college football. What am I talking about? College. I was excited about college basketball because I saw a Syracuse lineup with both Boeheims in for a scrimmage I think they had today. I saw it on Twitter. But college football, we should be excited about this weekend as well because we have some fantastic matchups, including a noon game between Michigan and Michigan State. We have a top 10 matchup to start the day, and I am excited for this one, Brett. I have a feeling, I have a feeling that this is going to be where the Michigan Wolverines stumble. They're traveling into Lansing, going to play the Spartans, and you know what? It's supposed to rain in Lansing on Friday. It doesn't look like it's going to rain on Saturday, but who knows how wet it's going to be out there. It's going to be in the low 50s during the game, and both these teams 7-0. It's a rivalry game. It's an in-state rivalry game, and I like the edge of the home team with both of these teams lining up, gearing up to get ready. I mean, both of them have a strong run game. I think whoever outruns the other may have the edge in this one, and obviously Corum with 729 yards doing fantastic, but amazingly, Walker Walker has nearly 1,000 yards, Brett. So I'm going to be back in the Spartans here on the money line plus 160.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker is a great running back for Michigan State. You're right, Higgins. But I got to be honest, I'm staying away from this one, Higgins. I really do like the Michigan side. They have two quarterbacks that can play, and I feel like having I mean, we've talked about it for years. Harbaugh's, struggled to develop his quarterback. He's never gotten his guy in there. He tried uh, the grad transfer route. He had the kid from Ole Miss. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Shea Patterson maybe came in, and then it was Joe Milton. It was the kid that ended up transferring out to UCLA for 2 years there. But he finally has Cade McCown and Cade McNamara, excuse me, and JJ McCartney in there, and both of them are really good, making a difference when they're in the game. McCartney with his legs more so, McNamara with his passing. But I don't have a great side on this. I love this game, Higgins, just because I follow Michigan a little bit, and this has always been called, quote unquote, the little brother game. And sometimes when little brother and big brother get together, it gets a little heated, Higgins, and people don't talk about it because it's not Ohio State, Michigan, but this one's a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, Michigan leads the all-time record with 71 wins, 37 losses, and 5 ties. So, I mean, it's a very one-sided affair here. But I think that's exactly why the Spartans might be able to steal this one, is because both these teams have a top 10 team this year. Yet this is a must win for the Wolverines, and this is a love to win game for the Spartans. Spartans are going to come on out, no pressure. They're going to be feeling good. They're going to hit on all cylinders. I think the Wolverines might have too much going on in their own heads for this game because of the pressure that they have to beat not just Ohio State, but also Michigan State. Because Michigan has to take this team and do something with it because Harbaugh is always coming up just short in this Big Ten. And the Wolverines, they're getting restless. They're getting restless.
Yeah, we shall see. It should be a good one on Saturday. But Higgins, there are obviously other games, and I guess you can call this one a rivalry game too because Texas heads to Baylor. Texas 2.5 point dogs. But Higgins, here's a little fun fact. I get them at plus 104 with the points, so I am jumping all over that. Give me Bijan Robinson. Give me whoever the heck's playing quarterback for Texas on Saturday. They've gone through at least one QB change. I don't know what has gone on there of late, but personally, for me, this spread with the plus number next to it, I'm going to take that and run Higgins. Texas typically gets the better recruits over Baylor. Texas, in my money, Sark has been a Power 5 coach at multiple schools. Obviously, a great offensive coordinator, been with the Falcons and Alabama. So this guy knows how to put up points. I think he can cover the 2.5 for me.
Well, speaking of knowing how to put up points, we have seen you ride the Big 12 teams and the overs this year. It's worked out great for you so far. I'm going to do that with this game. You said you're worried about who Texas's quarterback's going to be because they've gone through a few. That is the only question mark here for me. But you know what? Texas still averages nearly 6 touchdowns per game. Baylor averages over 5 touchdowns per game. I think this over under sitting at 61.5 is just too low. I'm taking the over here because I think this could be a 42-35 game.
Yeah, it could definitely be a high scoring game for sure. Um, and hold on, I just want to figure out. It's gonna be Casey Thompson. I couldn't think of his name. The other kid, I believe, is like Card or something like that. So Casey Thompson's come in. He's played better than Card, but still more of a runner than a thrower and whatnot. So it'll be interesting. I think Thompson can play pretty well though against Baylor and hopefully do enough to put that over in play for you as well, Higgins.
Yeah, I mean, Big 12 games, they're always exciting. There's always a lot of offense going on, so it should be an entertaining one, I think.
Yeah, and Higgins, here's a fun fact. Another coach was fired this week, so I get to bet on that team, baby. Texas Tech fires Coach Wells. A little bit surprising considering he was, 13 and 17 over his career at Texas Tech. Not a winning record, but not atrocious. A little shocked to see him get fired mid-season. They traveled to Oklahoma, who almost lost to Kansas last week, Higgins. And for some reason, FanDuel is giving me 19.5 points in a fired coach game. So I am taking that to the bank, baby. Give me the fired coach team. Give me Texas Tech with the points.
I'm just wondering, is that line gonna move to a full 21 points, a full 3 score game? Like, is there any desire to wait until Saturday for you?
No, it's minus 110 on both sides here, so I don't foresee it moving too much. I also don't think people are running to the window to bet on this Oklahoma team. It's been a rough year for Oklahoma. Not saying Texas Tech is like this big powerhouse, but I mean, Oklahoma was struggling mightily at Kansas last week.
Hey, and it should be good for you to know that Texas Tech is 4-3-1 against the spread so far this year. Oklahoma 3-5. So you might be picking the right side just naturally from the analytics, anyways. Shifting out of the Big 12 though, Brett, I'm going to go back to the Big 10. I talked about it to start the day because I love the Michigan State game, and then you know what? Penn State versus Ohio State should be a fantastic game as well. I have spoken rather highly of this Nittany Lions team this year. I think Sean Clifford is the right guy for this. I mean, he's the senior; it's his senior year, quarterback and everything. And you know what? Plus 18 and a half. It's a little too big for me against an Ohio State team that's already lost in Columbus this year. Yeah, it was the Ducks that came in and beat them, but the Ducks haven't been consistently fantastic either over there in the Pac-12. They've had some rocky games themselves. So even though Penn State's 5-2, I wouldn't be surprised if they come in, they give Ohio State a challenge. I don't think they necessarily win this game, but plus 18 and a half, I like those odds, so I'm going to be taking it.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have my eyes on this game, Higgins. I may even bet it on Saturday, but I think I would be on the opposite side of as you. James Franklin's comments over the last 2 weeks about USC just have not been very definitive that he's bought into this Penn State program. And honestly, if the media keeps asking him about it and he keeps giving me these wishy washy answers, I'm going to assume he's not bought into his own program. He's focused on moving across the country or something. So I'm leaning Ohio State early, Higgins. I think this will be a Saturday bet for me if I do bet it. But yeah, I mean, I can't say anything you said's wrong. It's a Big Ten game between two top 20 teams. Like, you would think they could keep it within three scores.
Yeah, I don't know how much I really buy the Franklin USC rumors, just mainly because he's from Pennsylvania, one, he's built up the Penn State program. Maybe he's using this as a bargaining chip potentially in terms of a contract extension or something like that. I don't see him really leaving though. I mean, he is doing very well and he's put a lot of effort into building up this Penn State program. So I think he is all in there. I think plus 18 and a half though. I don't think this is going to be a blowout by the Buckeyes. I just don't.
All right, fair enough. And then the last game we'll touch on here before we go over to the NFL, Higgins. Late night game, so I'm going to need you to keep me updated throughout the night while I sleep peacefully. Washington at Stanford. Stanford, 2.5 point home dogs in this one. Um, They haven't won in 2 weeks, Higgins, but they have the better quarterback. I honestly would probably venture and say they might even have the better coach. So I'll take Stanford in this one. This Washington team hasn't been great all year, and they really left a bad taste in my mouth by not covering against Arizona a few weeks ago. So I'm just taking Stanford. I think that's the side to be on. They have the better quarterback. They've got the coach that's been in the Pac-12, won in the Pac-12, so I would lean that way for sure. I'm actually gonna put my money on it, but I would tell our listeners if you're gonna bet on this one, I would head towards the Stanford side.
Hey, Washington's 1-6 against the spread this year. They're supposed to be the bounce back school, really. I mean, other than Arizona, they're kind of supposed to be one of the two bounce back schools in the Pac-12 that you can play and kind of know that you're gonna get a win. So Stanford minus 2.5. That kind of shows the struggles that the Cardinals have had this year as well. But I still like them at home there. I agree with you on your pick there. I think that's where the value is in that play.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, and I'm sorry I didn't agree with you on Penn State. But hey, maybe in the NFL, I'll be on your side, Egg.
No worries. Let's jump into some football, Brett. Talk about the NFL, and I'm going to just jump right into the Thursday night game because that's what really has my eye is this Packers Cardinals game that was supposed to be a very interesting, very intriguing, high profile Thursday night game that we were going to get between two playoff teams. But what we're getting from the Packers is a bunch of COVID positive tests popping up. We've seen Devonte Adams was someone that was on that list. There was a Packers coach that tested positive earlier in the weekend, I think. I saw something about Alan Lazard potentially testing positive today as well. The Packers are still having all of these potential potentially outs, potentially going to be playing. Too much is up in the air in terms of guys that need to test negative twice in a row and all that stuff because they're in advanced protocol with these players that have COVID in their area. So I'm just going to take Cardinals minus 6.5 here. The undefeated team at 7-0. They're the home team. They're going to be without J.J. Watt, who has a shoulder injury, is going to take the short week off. But I really like what I've seen from this Cardinals offense, and if they get this win, Brett, they're a half game away from covering the over that I took on them in the beginning of the season. People thought they were just going to win 8.5 games. I've been riding this team all season long. I'm going to ride with them again. Cardinals minus 6.5.
You have been riding with them. Just to fill you in on the injuries, Lazard will be out. He's not vaxxed, so he cannot play. Devonte Adams, on the other hand, we do not know at this point of our recording because he still had the opportunity to have two negative COVID tests within 24 hours of each other or something of that nature because he is vaxxed. So
Yes.
that is the update for you there, Higgins. Marquez Valdez-Scantling also expected to be activated off the IR for this game for Aaron Rodgers. So at least I guess wouldn't call them great reinforcements, but some reinforcements are on its way. So that's decent for the Packers. Also, Higgins, just gonna throw this out there. Aaron Rodgers has not lost a game that Devonte Adams has not been able to play. So maybe that's a reason to take the other side there, but that could just be an anomaly. Who knows?
Maybe, I mean, maybe without potentially without Devonte Adams, without Lazard. I mean, they did sign Randall Cobb specifically because Aaron Rodgers wanted Randall Cobb on that team. He has a fantastic relationship with that wide receiver. Hasn't been exploited a ton this year. I mean, Cobb is not the same receiver he necessarily was in his original stint with the Packers, but you never know. With with these guys out, could present some opportunity for this to look like a Packers offense of old potentially.
Yeah, maybe. Just interesting that Aaron Rodgers without Devonte Adams 6-0. So kind
Absolutely.
of crazy. My New York Jets take on the Bengals, Higgins. So just take the Bengals minus 10.5. We don't even need to talk about this one. The Jets suck.
Hey, I love that pick mainly because Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase has been a fantastic duo. They were great at LSU, and they've proven it potentially might have been wiser to pick the wide receiver than the offensive lineman for Joe Burrow. He got his guy.
Yeah, I mean, Jamar Chase has been unbelievable. I still think I'd probably take the O line, but it has worked out beautifully. Jamar Chase, probably going to break a lot of rookie receiving records this year. He is flying over some of these numbers early in the season. Another big spread, Higgins. The Rams, 14.5 point favorites over the Texans. The Texans on Wednesday trade Mark Ingram to the New Orleans Saints. Brandon Cooks tweets out basically saying this is BS, what the F. And you know what, Higgins? That spells a lot of trouble for me in that locker room. I don't think they're going to be very emotionally invested in the last game before the trade deadline in Houston. Give me the Rams minus 14.5.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, Mark Ingram, I'm happy for him going back to the Saints. That sounds like a great reunion that's going to be there. So that's going to be interesting to watch, but I understand why Brandon Cooks is upset about that. And I would understand a lot of hesitation and playing for personal safety and not necessarily for that extra yard by the Texans. So, yeah, minus 14 and a half. It might not bother me that that hook is on there. I might not buy down to the 14 even.
There you go. Yeah, I
I'm not
just
going to ride with you for the pillars, though. I'll say that.
thank you, thank you. I was like, do I need to forfeit this pick? Is Higgins jumping on?
No, I'm not going to jump on because of the pillars. But I like the pick. I like the pick. I try to stay away from double digit uh, lines in the NFL more often than not, anyways.
Oh
Though.
yeah, I would never recommend hopping on them, but I mean these two. I mean the Jets are not winning this football game. Yeah, Mike White could be anyone.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game. I have a game that I have a similar feeling on that, Brett. The New England Patriots, they travel west to go off and face against the Los Angeles Chargers, and I don't really see the Patriots having a chance in this game. They may be 2-0 on the road so far this season, but traveling west for a 1 p.m. Pacific time game to go face off against Justin Herbert, who has just been in the groove with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler and Jared Cook and everything with that offense. That Chargers offense is looking great. I understand they got a few players that are going to be potentially questionable. They've got some injuries that are popping up on both sides, but this line sitting at less than a touchdown. The Chargers at -5 right now. I really like that because I wouldn't be surprised if it is ending up getting closer to a -6 or -7 by Sunday. I'm grabbing the -5 at -115, so it seems like it's already shaking out to get to having a hook on it soon.
Yeah, it's definitely trending in that direction. New England has beaten the Jets twice and the Houston Texans for their 3 wins. So I think it's safe to say they play, better than bad teams and not as good as good teams.
And the Patriots, they're 3-4 in real life. They're 3-4 against the spread. Chargers, they're 4-2 in real life, 4-2 against the spread. So both these teams, when they win, they cover. So hopefully, I don't see the Patriots having a chance with it. As long as the Chargers win, I think they'll cover. I think they'll win by over a touchdown. One last game I want to talk about, Brett. It's actually the night game on Sunday. Cowboys in Minnesota facing off against the Vikings. And right now, as of Wednesday night in Oregon, the Cowboys are only -2.5 point favorites, and I don't understand why. And honestly, it looks like it might be hinting towards going to two because I'm getting -2.5 at -105. But I'm grabbing it now before the sports book wakes up. I don't think this is a field goal game, Brett. I mean, the Cowboys' offense has looked really good with Dak and Zeke and CD. CD Lamb is everything I feared he would be for a wide receiver for that Cowboys offense as a Giants fan. But I don't see this Vikings offense keeping up with this Cowboys offense. So -2.5, I just don't see it being that close. I think the Cowboys are going to end up running away with this one.
Yeah, you said this is a night game, Higgins, I believe. So
Sunday night.
So yeah, I would expect Kirk Cousins to regress to primetime Kirk Cousins, and I think you're probably on the right side there. This was a noon kick, a 1 o'clock kick, Higgins. You might be in some trouble.
Yeah, Kirk doesn't always like those primetime games. You're very right. You're very right on that. Very, very right. Yeah, I think this is going to be a game that. I mean, maybe the book is setting me up for a trap, but I don't see the Vikings coming out of this with a win. I think the Cowboys are going to get to 6-1. Cowboys are running away with this NFC East.
Yeah, Cowboys are definitely the team to beat in the NFC East for sure, no doubt about it.
Brett, let's jump into some money line magic. Talk about an NBA game from Tuesday night before we jump into talking about our NBA, NHL, and UFC picks. But on Tuesday night, the Lakers had to face off against the Spurs in San Antonio without LeBron James. It was just Russell Westbrook and AD manning the troops. And you know what? It was really just Russ and AD with the impact. They at one point had 59 of the 110 points late in the fourth quarter for the Lakers. And because of this, it was a very back and forth, chippy game that really, except for late in the third quarter, there was really no team that had an overwhelming lead.
Yeah, kind of an interesting game, Higgins. DeJounte Murray for the Spurs played very, very well in this one. Russell Westbrook on his counterpart on the opposite side also played very well. And then you had a big from each team kind of assert their dominance as well. Jakob Pertl had his best game of the year, no doubt about that. And Anthony Davis, as you mentioned earlier, played really well. So it was kind of like these teams matching each other punch for punch here.
Late in the fourth, though, Anthony Davis did have kind of a scary moment where he did go down on the court, grabbed his knee. I don't know, it looked like he kind of just banged knees with another guy, kind of maybe just a weird sensation. Didn't look like it bothered him too much. He stayed in the game, but you kind of saw Russell Westbrook really wake up and just become that floor general that he can be, become that decision maker and facilitator that we've always seen him be, the guy that averaged triple doubles for a season, really. And it allowed AD to stay on the court and kind of like slowly gather himself to be able to still contribute, but not have to be Anthony Davis, the star player. Russell Westbrook kind of took off, but Anthony Davis did end up having kind of a clutch assist where he just tossed it over to Malik Monk early in the play clock, and from 30 feet away, the young guy Monk shot a 31-footer, drains it to give the Lakers a 114 to 112 lead late in the game. But that's not what most people were saying he should do. They were saying take some time off the clock potentially. I mean, he makes it. The Spurs end up making a layup that ties it at 114. And of course, Brett, this game has to go to overtime because the Lakers can't win an easy one with LeBron on the sidelines for an injury.
No, I was kind of happy this one went to overtime. Selfishly, Higgins with Russell Westbrook on my fantasy team kept the triple double hunt alive a little bit longer. He ends up falling 2 assists shy, Higgins, which can't really complain. DeJounte Murray gets the triple double on the other side, but Russell Westbrook would walk away with what we think is more important here.
Yes, because the Lakers, the broadcast really kind of hinted at it by saying the first 2 minutes are what's most important to them in overtime. The first 2 minutes defines who's going to win overtime a lot of cases. And the Lakers, they took off, they grabbed the early lead, they kind of set the pace and the tone. And miraculously, though, the Spurs, they were still able to tie this one with about a minute and a half left in overtime. So even though the Lakers would end up going and getting a 125 to 121 win, the Spurs did not let them have this by any means of it being easy. This was a difficult win that they had to go and get.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing comes easy in the NBA, Higgins. You have to go out and get everything. You have to earn it. So I wasn't surprised that the Lakers struggled. Good news for Anthony Davis is he did play on Wednesday night, has already played over 30 minutes. There's about 4 minutes left in that game on Wednesday night, Higgins, and the Lakers are down to Oklahoma City. Russell Westbrook does have a triple double on Wednesday night, but Higgins, he also has 10 turnovers, so a bit erratic for my guy Westbrook on Wednesday on the second night of a back to back. But they did get a money line magic this week, Higgins. So pretty good week in Lakerland, according to the Next Best Bet podcast.
Yeah, the Lakers, they're in OKC on Wednesday, so I was looking at it, maybe trying to look at a Westbrook triple double prop potentially, but I couldn't find one that I really liked. But I thought he was going to go in and he was going to rock out in OKC after playing so well in San Antonio. Looks like it was the other side of the coin, though. Brett, before we jump into some more picks, though, today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And be sure to add our podcast, The Next Best Bet, in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application. Now, Brett, jumping into some hockey, some Thursday night picks. I really like what I've seen from this Carolina Hurricanes team. I backed them the past 2 episodes. They've been good to me so far. They're 5-0 on the season. They're bringing in the Bruins on Thursday night, who, granted, the Bruins are a talented team at 3-1, but I love this Hurricanes team. I love the offense I've seen from them. So I'm actually going to, instead of backing the Hurricanes this time, I'm going to take the over in this game because if you watch these two teams play and if you have seen them early on, they are both just offensive powerhouses. Carolina's averaging 4.4 goals a game. The Bruins are averaging 3.5. They've been putting up 4, 3, 6 goals apiece sometimes. So I see this over 5.5. It's just too low for me. So minus 125. I wish the odds were a little bit better. I would even potentially take this at 6, but I'm going to just take it at the 5.5 while it's here.
Yeah, fair enough, Higgins. I think that seems like a good play. I'm going to head out to the Jets versus the Kings. Higgins, I'm not sure if you saw the latest news out of Los Angeles, but they lost two defensemen on Wednesday for a long period of time. Drew Doughty out 8 weeks. Sean Walker, I believe, is the other guy's name, and he is out for the season. So, tough Wednesday in La La Land. But on Thursday, the Winnipeg Jets come to town, and I get to bet on them, so that will be fun. Winnipeg minus 1.5 on the puck line is plus 220, and I think that's pretty good value for a team that's losing two guys that are paid to stop goals from going in the net.
And the Jets are coming off a 3-game win streak so far, and they just got a comeback victory in Anaheim against the Ducks. I was on the Ducks on Tuesday night. They were leading 3-2, and then in the final 2 minutes of the third period, the Jets not only tie up the game, but they score the game winner. It was an utter collapse by the Ducks. Great offensive momentum from the Jets to carry into this game against the Kings. You mentioned how the Kings are down defensively. I love this pick for you. I think that's some fantastic value, and I always love it when you venture over to my side of the sports book with some positive odds on the puck line.
Hey Higgins, it's come through for me on the last two podcasts, so why run away from what's paying the bills?
So in Oregon, like I've mentioned a few times, I get multiple days of odds. I get Thursday and I get Friday for hockey. So Friday's game between the Arizona Coyotes and the Washington Capitals, it intrigues me. I'm saying this is a lean right now. I'm leaning Capitals minus 1.5, but I'm waiting to see if that can potentially get to positive odds. But it's at minus 120 right now because the Coyotes, they also play on Thursday in Tampa Bay. So they have to play back to back nights against the Lightning and the Capitals. I don't think I'm gonna get positive odds in this, but I'm just gonna be watching and gonna snipe it if I can find it because I think maybe if they outperform against Tampa, maybe those odds will shift a little bit the way that I want them to. But overall, I can't see the Coyotes playing that tough back to back very well.
Yeah, definitely going to be a tough back to back. I think Washington is the better team, even if they were both coming in on a day's rest, Higgins. So uh, I like the play there.
Yeah, and then let's jump into our NBA picks now, Brett, and talk about some Thursday because as we were putting this rundown together, Brett, we did not have a lot of lines to really look at for Thursday's games because a lot of Wednesday's games were still going on, not a lot of really wrapped up yet. In Oregon, for example, I still don't have lines.
Well, you got to move, Higgins. You got to move where all the books are competing against each other and they got to get the lines out quick. No, I'm just messing with you.
Oh wait, yes, I do have lines. I just have to click on them. It's just not formatted. So the Knicks are 1 point favorites over the Bulls, and the Rockets are 4.5 point favorite or 4.5 point underdogs to the Jazz. Those are the two lines that I have right now. I don't know how I necessarily feel about that. Maybe I'd lean the Jazz minus 4.5. I'd say is probably what I'd be looking at right now, but I don't know. I have to do a little bit more research because, like I said, it's too many games that were going on as we're recording. There were no lines out for me as we were putting out this rundown. What about you? What games leap out that you want to be looking at on Thursday?
You said you have Utah at 4.5, Higgins?
Yeah. That's first half line. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say that you have 4 points of value. I would just hop on that right now.
I don't have full game spreads, actually.
That's incredible. So Oregon's just putting a halftime line. Okay, Oregon, we're getting funky with it.
So actually,
Well,
same thing for that Knicks Bulls line. That Knicks -1 that I told you, that's actually a first half line. I don't have a full game spread for it. I don't understand what this is. What's going on, Oregon?
the Oregon, what's it called? The scorebook?
The
That's what it is?
Oregon Lottery Scoreboard Sportsbook.
Scoreboard Sportsbook. There you go, man. Putting out first half lines. I love it. Yeah, Higgins, I think there's a lot of teams playing back to backs tomorrow night, which scares me off. Like, for instance, I like the Memphis Grizzlies going up against the Golden State Warriors, but I'm not gonna bet it with Memphis playing a back to back against Portland. And I like the Knicks as dogs against the Chicago Bulls. But the Knicks also playing a back to back situation, so I'm not really gonna bet that either. Just not the not games I'm looking to hop on. Or actually, the Knicks played on Tuesday night, but all the days jumble together in my brain.
Understandable, good sir. Interestingly enough, about the Capitals that we were just recently talking about, they lost to the Red Wings at home on Wednesday night. So that is going to be also, they're going to come in a little bit more focused, I think, because of that loss. But Brett, before we get out of here, because I don't know really much else about these NBA lines that I really like right now. Follow us on our social medias. I'll probably put out some picks on Thursday. That's at MBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel. But Brett, before we get out of here, I want to talk a little bit about UFC on Saturday because it's UFC 267, which it's an interesting card, and it's in Abu Dhabi, meaning the early prelim fights are starting in the morning before football. The first UFC fights of the day are starting at 10:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 Pacific Time. I could wake up 7:30 in the morning if I want and watch some UFC. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that, but I do like some of these late cards. Are you going to be waking up watching a little bit of UFC before your college football, Brett?
No, but I'm at least seeing some names on here, Higgins, that I at least remember from like the middle of the quarantine here. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this UFC card.
Yeah, so there's not a ton of value here unless you go beyond the money line for a lot of these, at least bigger name fights. Because if you look at like uh, Jan Blachowicz, who's fighting off against Glover Teixeira, Blachowicz, he's a -330 favorite in Oregon. Then you look at Peter Yan, who's a -245 favorite against Sandhagen. You look at Makachev, who, as long as he's been tied to Khabib, he's a massive favorite in any fight. He's -725. I tried pairing the three of those guys together, and it was a +109. You're barely getting plus odds if you tried to even trio those three. Thing is, I wouldn't even want to trio those three because there's actually one of those fights in there that I like an underdog. But before we get to that one, Brett, I want to talk about the welterweight fight between Jinliang and Khamzat Chimaev. If you remember me talking about Chimaev last year during the quarantine, that might be the name that stuck out to you a little bit, Brett. It's because this guy just came onto the UFC and absolutely stole the show. He fought on July 15th, 2020. Then he fought 10 days later on July 25th, 2020. And then he fought on September 19th, 2020. He won by submission in the second round and then two first round knockouts. This guy is a lights out fighter. Right now, I'm watching those Chimaev odds. He's -650 here, fighting off against Jin Liang. I don't know if he's necessarily going to have as easy of a time as he's had against his past few opponents. Jin Liang is a very talented fighter, has faced off against some very talented competition like Neil Magny, like Porzinibio, and so I think this could could extend out of the first round, but I don't think this is going to the judges' table. I don't think this is going all three. And remember, when we saw Chimaev take a year off and then come back and he did those three fights, he came in laser focused. The reason he hasn't fought in the past year was because he did catch COVID and he had some lingering issues with his lungs, but he stayed away and then ended up coming back. He almost retired because he didn't want to put his health at risk. Instead, he just took a prolonged absence, and now he's coming back. So I'm going to be looking at those odds. I'm going to end up tweeting out what I like closer to Saturday, but I don't have anything as of Wednesday, Brett. But that Chimaev name, that sound familiar to you?
Yeah, I think I was looking more at the Jan Sandhagen fight, Higgins.
Okay.
Those were names that like I really remember from. I want to say we were doing UFC like in Orlando, maybe it was, or Jacksonville, and
Mm-hmm.
and I think that both of those guys probably fought in those smaller events there, or possibly on Fight Island, or
They
possibly at the
fought at Fight Island.
UFC training center. I just remember UFC Higgins for maybe like a 2 3 month period was like all he had. It was like that in NASCAR.
Peter Yan, he's Russian, so he fought. He's one of the international fighters that fought on Fight Island. Corey Sandhagen, he's fought a little bit more recently. I like that fight though. Peter Yan, he's someone. He won the belt against Jose Aldo in July of 2020, and that was on Fight Island. And then he was defending his belt against Aljamain Sterling. And I don't know if you remember this, Brett, but that was a very controversial ending where Jan got disqualified, had to give up the belt to Sterling because of a knee to the head, where Sterling was down on the ground, technically was had his knee on the ground, so you can't knee him like that. And Jan put Sterling to the ground with a knee to the head that ended up ending the fight out of safety. Those two tried to get a rescheduled fight, didn't end up working out. So now Peter Yan's going to fight off against Corey Sandhagen. And this is just an interesting matchup in a bantamweight class that fights at about 135. Corey Sandhagen's 5'11". He's bigger than anybody at that weight class because 135 at 5'11 is just it's really impressive to be able to get down to that weight at that height, to be honest. But Sandhagen, he most recently lost to TJ Dillashaw this past summer. That was a very high profile fight. That was I believe it was a pay per view fight. No, it was a UFC fight night fight actually. But he lost in split decision in a fight that TJ Dillashaw dominated, but Corey Sandhagen looked very good at. I think Sandhagen is going to come in and he's going to surprise some people. He's going to get the win against Peter Yan. And I'm getting him in at plus 185 value here in Oregon. I like those odds. I think it might even float a little bit more towards 200 closer to Saturday. So I'd keep my eye on that.
All right, good info for all our listeners, and I guess you'll have to wake up really early to watch these fights on Sunday morning.
Saturday morning.
Saturday morning. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can watch some fights, lead right into some college football, but then that's when the screen time gets controversial is the main fights are going to be going on during the college football games, so hopefully you got a good setup. Hopefully you
Yeah,
got a good setup.
hopefully you have a few screens there. That's a great call, Higgins. All right, but let's get into our Levy lock and pick of the pod. Higgins, I can't believe you lost a pick of the pod. It's been like months.
I was going on a good heater. I was going on a real good heater.
You were as hot as they come, man. Unfortunately, someone came in and cooled you off. So I guess I get the honors, which, I'll give them right back to you. Don't you worry. Higgins, I have not lost a fired coach bet all year. Texas Tech keeps the streak going, and they cover the 19.5 this weekend at Oklahoma. Just bet it. Don't even watch the game. Walk away, have a few beers, enjoy your Saturday, Higgins. Come back and see some money in your bank account.
I love it. I mean, we've talked about this it's him, not us game is what you called it a few picks ago. You didn't call it that this episode, but it was him, not us game is how you liked to call it a little while ago. I like those picks because I think you're onto something regarding a team playing with a chip on their shoulder after their head coach gets fired. They want to prove something that they're talented, they belong at that D1 level. I agree.
Yeah, no, these things, and it's not just me, these things come home at, I mean, really close to 60%, Higgins. It is unbelievable. You know, people get scared. There's some turmoil going on. There's this, there's that. But the truth is, it's all about the Jimmies and the Joes, not the X's and the O's. And the Jimmies and Joes are still going out there and playing football, Higgins.
And believe me, whoever the new coach that comes in, he'll be watching this game film, the game film that comes after the old coach left to see, okay, what do these guys got? Got to know. But as for my pick of the pod, Brett, I'm going to be going with the Thursday night NFL game. I mentioned it, how there's just too many questions with who's going to be playing with the Packers. They're in the advanced COVID protocol right now where there's multiple forms of testing going on. They have Devonte Adams potentially out. He still has the potential to play on Thursday if he has two negative tests within 24 hours of each other. But then there's Alan Lazard, who was placed on the COVID list. There's just different restrictions that there's going to be for this Packers team. We saw the Cardinals have to deal with this a little bit earlier this year as well. The Cardinals, though, at -6.5, I'm taking them while that's still under a touchdown because as we get more solid news on Thursday, if we get a wave of Packers that are going to be out, that line's going to just bump way above a single score, Brett. So I'm taking that while it's still under a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense, Higgins. My only, I guess, concern on that whole game is somehow, some way, Aaron Rodgers in 6 games without Devontae Adams, 6-0. So, um, maybe it's just something in the stars, Higgins. Who knows what the? Maybe it's whatever he eats pregame when Devontae's out. Who knows what the heck it is? Could just be random. Maybe they've played the Jets 6 times. Although I think he told me they played the Falcons once, so maybe it was the Jets 5 times and the Falcons once. Who knows? But kind of a crazy, weird stat there.
Very interesting stat indeed. Like I mentioned a few times, make sure to follow us on our social media at NBBPod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel, because we'll have some picks between now and next episode. I mean, I said I was waiting till closer towards the weekend on a couple picks. We got game 3 going on in the MLB on Friday. We don't have a line for that as of Wednesday night because game 2's going on Wednesday night. The Astros are up 6-2. Brett, it's 6-2, just like game 1 was. The line for the over-under was 8.5. Guess for me, is the over going to hit?
Oh, I really hope so. I'm just I can cheat a little bit, right? There's a runner on first. We're in the top of the 7th. Maybe the Braves get that runner from first home here, Higgins, and we have a 6-3 ball game, and that over cashes for you.
Maybe. Who knows? We'll wait and see. Follow us on Twitter to find out. We'll be in the Twitterverse sharing some picks. For Brett, I'm Jake. This has been episode 171 of The Next Best Bet. We'll talk to you guys again after the weekend.